While I was at the doctor's office finding out our baby's gender, my husband was in bed with our neighbor. My name is Emily. I'm 28 years old. I worked from home as a copywriter, and I thought my life was perfect. I had a stable, remote job, a cozy house in the suburbs, and a husband who kissed me on the forehead every morning before work. We had been married for 4 years. It wasn't a flashy relationship, just two people building a life together, step by step. His name is Matt. Charming, funny, and that quiet, confident type who makes everyone instantly trust him. Everyone loved him, even our neighbor, Tessa. But let me take you back to the beginning. Matt and I met at a digital marketing conference in Austin. I was there on behalf of a client, and he was giving a keynote speech on brand strategy. After his talk, I walked up to him to say congratulations, and when our eyes met, the world went silent for a moment. "You really work magic with words," I said. He smiled. "Interesting to meet someone who sees through the spell," he replied. That was the moment it started. The next day, we met for coffee. It didn't feel like a first date. It felt familiar, like something we had done 1,000 times before. We talked for hours about advertising, campaign ideas, and life in general. But mostly, we talked about how lonely it feels to be unseen in a crowd. We were both people chasing career goals, but quietly craving to be understood on a deeper level. When Matt looked at me and said, "Talking to you feels peaceful," my heart memorized that sentence. And I truly believed I had found what I'd been searching for all these years. That weekend, we took a walk by Lady Bird Lake. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft pastel colors. There was a light breeze dancing across the water. As we strolled along the edge of the lake, our hands brushed, both of us paused. My heart raced. This wasn't just another walk. Matt gazed at the horizon and said, "This place is like you, quiet, but the deeper you go, the more you discover." In that moment, I remembered what falling in love felt like. That lakeside walk wasn't just a date, it was the beginning of everything. The first spark, the first real smile, the first time I thought, maybe, just maybe, this time it's real. On the drive back, music played softly in the background. Matt was silent for a while, then turned to me and asked, "Can we call this the beginning of something?" My answer, "It already is." After that day, it was constant texts, long phone calls, and spontaneous weekend getaways. And soon enough, our long-distance romance turned into a real decision. "I'm moving," he said. I had fallen in love with a man who was willing to change cities for love. A year later, we got married. "Our kids should grow up with parents who are madly in love," he told me. And I believed him. Every single word. Last spring, I found out I was pregnant. My hands were shaking when I saw those 2 pink lines. When I showed Matt the test, he stared into my eyes for a few seconds, and then burst into tears. He hugged me so tightly, it felt like the rest of the world faded away. "You and me, now we're 3, he whispered in my ear. That was one of the most emotional moments of my life. During the first trimester, he was by my side almost every single day. He'd wake up early to make me ginger tea for the morning sickness. Whenever I craved something salty, he'd rush to whichever store had it, even if it was across town. One night, I was craving strawberry waffles. It was 10 p.m. and raining outside. But Matt didn't even hesitate. He got dressed and drove to my favorite cafe, came back with waffles, extra strawberries on top. We were living through every moment of the pregnancy together. We designed the nursery side by side, spending hours on Pinterest, looking for the softest color palettes. Matt read books on fatherhood, watched How to Be a Great Dad videos on YouTube, and held my hand at every doctor's appointment. He never made fun of my weird pregnancy cravings. Sometimes I wanted pickles at midnight. Other times, sour cherry cake at 6 a.m. He always smiled and said, "Whatever you want, our baby probably wants to." He embraced the tiny life growing inside me so deeply, it amazed me. He started liking dad life posts on Instagram, and sent me videos of best dads ever with heart emojis. His eyes would light up. He truly seemed ready to be a father. And back then, I honestly believed I was the luckiest woman alive. But fairy tales don't always go the way you hope. And ours started to unravel the moment Tessa moved into the building. Tessa was our brand new neighbor. She moved into the apartment right next to ours, literally just a wall away. Tall, blonde, always in yoga pants. She had that effortless, cool girl energy. On Mavin Day, Matt helped her carry boxes up the stairs. I was lying on the couch at the time. As he shut the door, I still heard her laugh echo into our living room. Something inside me stirred, but I brushed it off. Pregnancy, hormones, I told myself. Tessa had one of those personalities that instantly won people over. She made sure to greet everyone in the building with a sweet, good morning. She'd walk her dog in the garden and strike up casual conversations with Matt. At first, she invited me to, but I was always too exhausted to join. I was pregnant, after all, and constantly tired. Soon, Matt started taking the trash out with her. Then quick grocery store runs, just because they bumped into each other. It's nothing, I told myself. We live in the same building, it happens. But one day, while I was out, I saw something on Instagram. Tessa had posted a store, sitting on the swing in our backyard. The swing Matt had built for me as a birthday surprise. She was petting her dog, and the caption read, "New favorite spot. Thanks, Em." My stomach dropped. Still, I tried to calm myself. I didn't say anything to Matt. Maybe I'm overthinking it, I told myself. But here's the thing, a woman's intuition is stronger than any solid proof. And after that day, that little stir inside me turned into a full-blown storm. One morning, we were sitting at the breakfast table. Matt walked in, holding his phone, and said, with a voice just cautious enough, "Tessa invited us over for dinner tonight. She says she doesn't want to be just the new neighbor anymore. She wants to be more of a friend. Should we go?" I paused for a moment. Lately, something about Tessa had been bothering me. But at the same time, I was afraid of accusing Matt based on my own paranoia. Maybe it was just my pregnancy hormones playing tricks on me. "Okay," I said. Maybe I was overreacting. She's probably just being friendly. Around 7 p.m., we headed over to Tessa's apartment. When she opened the door, she looked as radiant as ever. She was wearing a tight black dress, her hair pinned up, subtle makeup, but stunning. She welcomed us in with her usual charm. The table was set under dim lighting, clearly arranged with care. Red wine, scented candles, the smell of fresh lasagna baking in the oven, and soft jazz playing in the background. As we walked in, all I could say was, "Wow, this looks amazing." But deep down, I couldn't shake the uneasiness. As I sat at the table, Tessa called out, "Matt, can you give the salad a final touch?" And that's when I noticed something. Matt moved into the kitchen like he belonged there, like he knew every corner of the place. And Tessa, she acted like she knew exactly how he liked things. Something inside me whispered, "Emily, be careful." But I still kept telling myself, it's all in your head. At one point during the evening, Tessa turned to me and asked, "So, when's your due date, Emily? I hope Matt is there for the delivery. He really seems like he'll make a great dad." I froze. The way she said, "be there for the delivery," felt so distant. And he'll make a great dad, as if she was evaluating him, not just complimenting. It didn't sound like something a friend would say. It sounded like something more. Still, by the end of the night, I told myself to stop overthinking. Maybe Tessa really was just a warm and outgoing person. Or maybe I was clinging to the belief that I was still the heroine of this story. But the next morning, everything changed. Matt was in the shower when his phone buzzed. I normally never touched his phone, but something inside, meet that quiet inner alarm, urged me to look. A message was glowing on the screen. The message was from Tessa, and when I read it, I couldn't believe my eyes. "I can't stop thinking about the moment we locked eyes last night. I know you felt it too." A lump formed in my throat. I was 7 months pregnant. My baby was kicking inside me, and I was completely shattered. My heart didn't just break, it exploded. That message left no more room for doubt. I had been cheated on, and not just any time. I had been betrayed during the most vulnerable moment of my life, while pregnant. My first instinct was to scream, to drag him out of the shower and shove the phone in his face. But I didn't. Right then and there, I made a decision. I was going to observe Matt. Maybe this was one-sided. Maybe she was the one coming on to him. God, how naive I was. I didn't say a word that morning. I made breakfast like nothing had happened. I drank my coffee while watching him sit down at the table. He picked up his phone. I saw the flicker in his eyes. He had read the message. He looked uncomfortable, even a little tense. But then he put the phone down and turned his attention to me. He was gentle, warm. He asked when we should schedule the doctor's appointment to find out the baby's gender. Everything seemed so normal, so loving. So I convinced myself he wasn't part of it, that this was all Tessa's fault. She was the kind of woman who would flirt with a married man, her own pregnant neighbor's husband. As Matt left for work that day, he paused at the door. "Tessa isn't someone we should trust," he said. "Let's keep our distance from her." Then he kissed me and left, and just like that, I felt relieved, reassured. I believed my husband was faithful, loyal, committed to me and our unborn child. I trusted him even more than before. But Tessa, she needed to learn a lesson. You don't get to flirt with someone's husband and walk away untouched. This wasn't just my revenge story, it was every woman's. I was glowing that morning. Matt was trustworthy, loving, still mine, and Tessa, she was the problem. She had no idea what I was about to do. From that day on, I made a plan, not for drama, not for a fight, but for revenge. Quiet, precise revenge. And just like that, I started getting close to Tessa. She thought I was naive, that I'd never suspect her. She invited me over for brunch. We drank iced tea on her balcony, shared recipes, chatted about baby names. I smiled. I played the part of the sweet, clueless, very pregnant friend. But I was watching her every move. One day, while she stepped out to take a call, I noticed her journal on the coffee table. That's when I saw it. Not love poems. Not fantasies about my husband. Math. Lots of it. Tessa had scribbled down rows of number, totals, deductions, weird calculations. And at the bottom of the page, in big bold letters, cash from unreported sales, not included in taxes. I'll just forget to mention it. It stopped me cold. She had literally confessed to tax fraud, right in her precious little journal. I took out my phone. Click. I snapped a clear photo of the page. Then I carefully closed the journal, exactly as it had been. By the time she returned, I was sipping iced tea with a calm smile. Back home, I was buzzing with adrenaline. I had leverage now. Real leverage. When Matt walked through the door, I was ready to tell him everything. Tessa's obsession with him, her lies, and now this tax mess. But he cut me off. "Can we talk later?" he said, grabbing his keys. "I've got a meeting downtown." He was freshly shaved, wearing cologne, and his outfit, way too polished for a client pitch. My stomach turned. But I still trusted my husband. If Matt said it was a meeting, then it was a meeting. I kept telling myself he would never hide anything from me. He wasn't like that. So I held back. I still had a bigger bomb to drop. Tessa's tax fraud. But before I pulled the trigger, I figured, why not gather more dirt? If I played it cool, she'd keep letting me in. And the next time I went over to her place, I'd take a closer look inside that journal. What if she'd written something about Matt? Maybe it wasn't just taxes she was hiding. Meanwhile, something strange started happening. Matt's meetings became more frequent. He'd say he was swamped with work, but somehow always had a fresh shave and cologne. He wasn't acting shady exactly, but he also wasn't the Matt I married. Days kept passing, and Matt was spending less and less time with me. I buried myself in work. When I wasn't writing copy, I was researching baby products, crib safety, postpartum care, Everything a first-time mom should know. I wanted to be prepared. I wanted us to be prepared. That evening, over dinner, I brought up a prenatal parenting class I'd found. It was designed for couples, hands-on practice, helpful tips, emotional bonding. It sounded perfect. We could go together, I said gently, placing my hand over his. But Matt barely looked up from his phone. He started pacing around the house, clearly distracted. I really need to shower, Emily. Big meeting tonight. I'll be heading out soon. He kissed my forehead like a stranger passing by. We'll talk when I get back, okay? Before I could even respond, I tried saying, these meetings, they've gotten a little too frequent, don't you think? But the sound of running water had already replaced his voice. He was in the shower, escaping. After that night, Matt never brought up the prenatal parenting class again. Not once. It was like I'd never even mentioned it. He was absorbed in himself, always glued to his phone, always claiming to be under pressure at work. I'd be sitting right next to him on the couch, baby books open in my lap, and he wouldn't even glance up. He stopped asking how I felt. He didn't ask about the baby. He didn't ask about me. It was like I had been slowly disappearing from my own marriage. One evening, as I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at a half-eaten bowl of pasta, I whispered to myself, I want to know the baby's gender. I said it out loud the next morning. I think I'm ready to find out if it's a boy or a girl, I told Matt, trying to sound excited, hopeful. His eyes lit up for a second, maybe out of surprise more than joy. Yeah, that's great. I'll book the appointment. And he did. For a Thursday morning, 10:15 a.m. But the night before, as I was folding tiny onesies and imagining Matt's reaction to seeing the ultrasound, he came into the room in a rush. Emily, he said, without even sitting down. I hate to do this, but I can't come tomorrow. There's this massive meeting I can't get out of. I'm really sorry. I didn't even cry. I just nodded. The next morning, I got dressed in my favorite maternity dress, the one with the soft blue flowers. I looked in the mirror and forced a smile. This is your moment, I whispered, not his. I drove myself to the clinic. Alone. As I sat in the waiting room, surrounded by couples holding hands, sharing nervous laughs, rubbing growing bellies together, I felt the silence, not just around me, inside me. And yet, when the doctor smiled and turned the screen toward me, when I heard that tiny heartbeat, when I saw the flicker of life inside me, I smiled back. It's a girl, she said. Tears filled my eyes, but not for Matt, for her, for me, for the strength I didn't even know I had. On the way back home, I kept glancing at my phone. Not a single message. Not even a "how did it go?" Matt didn't ask if the baby was healthy. Didn't ask if I was okay. Didn't ask if we were having a boy or a girl. I pulled over into a little baby boutique on Main Street, the kind with soft music and pastel everything. The moment I walked in, I saw it. A tiny pink onesie with little embroidered flowers on the collar. My hands trembled as I picked it up. Baby girl clothes, newborn essentials, expecting mother must-haves. I'd searched them all online, but this one felt different. This one was for her, for my daughter, for us. I paid for it and walked to my car, gently setting the bag on the passenger seat like it held something sacred. I rested both hands on my belly. We're going to be okay, I whispered. She kicked. The drive home was quiet, too quiet, and as I pulled up in front of our apartment complex, something in my gut twisted. There was no noise, no movement, just stillness. A wave of unease washed over me. I didn't know why. Pregnancy hormones, paranoia, or maybe a sixth sense only mothers get. I parked the car, grabbed the bag with the onesie, and slowly climbed the stairs. With every step, my heartbeat grew louder. My baby kicked again, nervous energy, maybe. I placed a hand on my stomach. It's okay, sweet girl. We're okay. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The first thing that hit me wasn't a sound. It was a scent, a perfume I didn't recognize. Sweet, heavy, almost syrupy. It clung to the air like fog. It wasn't mine. It wasn't subtle. And it made me nauseous. I closed the door quietly, tiptoeing through the hallway, listening. Nothing at first. Then, laughter. Soft, intimate, coming from the bedroom. It was a woman's voice. And Matt's. I gripped the pink onesie bag tighter, suddenly aware of how fragile everything felt. The walls, my trust, my heart. I took another step. I stepped closer to the bedroom door, each breath becoming harder to take. Then, I pushed it open, and my world shattered. There they were, Matt, Tessa, in our bed. The same bed where we used to talk about baby names. Where he once kissed my belly and told our daughter stories before bed. Now, he was tangled in sheets with the woman who lived next door. The pink onesie bag slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a soft thud. I turned, storming out of the room. But then, my phone. I froze. With trembling hands, I pulled it out of my pocket, turned back toward the bedroom, and with one swift motion, I took a picture. Matt's voice rose behind me. Emily, please, don't do this. It's not what it looks like. But I didn't even glance back. I walked out the front door with the photo, and I didn't stop. I got in my car and drove. Nowhere in particular. Just away. Tears blurred my vision, but I didn't care. Anger pulsed through me. Cheating during pregnancy. Betrayal by a neighbor. Infidelity in your own home. I drove 4 hours, until my gas tank was low and my mind was empty. Eventually, I found myself parked near a quiet cafe by the lake. I walked in, numb, and ordered a coffee. Sat at a corner table and stared at the rippling water outside. And that's when something shifted inside me. The heartbreak didn't go away, but something colder, sharper, took its place. Revenge. Matt and Tessa had broken my trust, but they had no idea who they were messing with. I pulled up the photo on my phone and stared at it. This wasn't just gossip. This was proof of infidelity, evidence of cheating, and in most states, that mattered. Especially when it came to divorce settlements, child custody, and spousal support. I wiped my tears, opened a new note on my phone, typed at the top in bold, plan, take my life back. Underneath, I started writing, meet with a divorce lawyer, gather financial records, save the bedroom photo, look into community property laws, protect custody of my daughter. By the time I finished my coffee, I already knew what I needed to do. I got in my car, wiped the smudged mascara from under my eyes, and drove straight to a law office downtown. No detours. No hesitation. I walked in and said the words that would change everything. I'd like to file for divorce. An hour later, I was sitting across from a sharp-eyed divorce attorney named Marissa Chase, someone who clearly meant business. After I laid everything out, the affair, my pregnancy, the betrayal, the proof, she leaned forward, tapped the photo of Matt and Tessa I had printed out, and said, "You're going to be okay. Actually, better than okay." I almost smiled. Revenge wasn't about rage anymore. It was about reclaiming my power. I thanked her, signed the paperwork, and left feeling lighter. Next stop, the bank. Matt and I had several joint accounts. He probably thought I'd be too emotional to think straight. Big mistake. I calmly withdrew a large portion of the funds, my share, and walked out. That night, I checked into a quiet boutique hotel under my maiden name. The room smelled like lavender and fresh linen. The bed was soft. The silence was mine. But I wasn't done. I opened Instagram, selected the photo of Matt and Tessa tangled in our sheets. I tagged them both, made the post public. Within an hour, the post blew up. Comments poured in. "This is the most satisfying revenge I've ever seen. Tag me when karma finishes the job." Mutual friends were shocked. His colleagues saw it. Her boss liked the post. Even her mother commented, "This is shameful, Tessa." And it didn't stop there. I made an anonymous phone call to her workplace, about the tax fraud she thought nobody knew about. Let's just say, karma works fast. Tessa was fired. Completely blindsided. Her picture-perfect life crumbled. As for Matt, he moved out shortly after the divorce was finalized. He now sees our daughter on the weekends, because yes, he only has partial custody. I'm a single mom now. Stronger, wiser, no longer the woman who believed sweet words over actions. This wasn't just a breakup, it was a betrayal, and I turned that heartbreak into power. This wasn't about Matt anymore, or Tessa. This was about me. My name is Emily. I'm 28 years old. My husband cheated on me with our neighbor when I was pregnant, and I shamed them both for the whole world. So now, I want to ask you, what do you think of my story? If you were in my shoes, what would you have done?